Okay guys, so I went ahead and I smoked the end there. Here's my old axe I restored. I smoked the end of that piece of tree trunk and had just a few ants come out, but hardly anything. And I noticed that no ants were coming out when I cut in there. So I figured I'd go ahead and try to go ahead and finish it off. I got lucky, so there was a chunk that was attached to this. This is not the very bottom. The very bottom is still over at the neighbors, so the majority of the ants were probably in the very base of the tree, and they had colonized up to this point where it blew down. It was weak right there. So now I got this big piece here, and I got one other piece. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and buck this into logs, into rounds, and stack it up, and then I'm gonna burn that piece. Won't do a video on that because I gotta be attentive with a garden hose, whatnot. Anyway, so I used my 6-foot rock breaking pry bar to go ahead and pry this up onto that piece of wood there. I'm gonna go ahead and buck this end off because this is all gravel and hard packed dirt, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Get you a shot of cutting through this one. Notice the brake is on, the chain brake is on. Whenever I get done cutting, I put the chain brake on. Safety. Walking, put the chain brake on. Alright, so I wanted to go ahead and just cut that in there. Alright, they talk about the power of the saw with 32-to-1, mix. Gas versus 2-cycle. So you notice there's absolutely no bogging whatsoever. And I didn't use no pressure. I never use pressure when I cut. I let the saw chain do the work. That's the way you need to do it. You need to let the saw chain do the work. Because if you're pressing, then your chain's starting to get dull. This is Oregon chain and an Oregon crowbar. So if you look up Oregon, the guy that invented Oregon chain, who started the company Oregon, he studied beavers. He studied the way they chewed through a tree. And that's how he developed Oregon chainsaw chain. Alright? And then of course a lot of other products came after that. I'm going to go ahead and cut another small round here. I'm going to cut a couple of them. and then you can check it out, all right? One more. Notice the safety's on now. When I get this cutting, I put my safety on. Okay, watch. Alright, so that's off. I want to get started with power. Alright, so I rev it up. I want to get started with power, so I go ahead and I rev it up before I actually start cutting in to the wood, right? All right. So this is the original Husqvarna 562 XP. There's no modifications to it other than I'm using 32-to-1 oil, and I keep it clean. I keep it clean. I keep the insides of the saw clean, take the air filter out, clean that. Just your typical maintenance that you should be doing every time you use your chainsaw. Now, I just cut 4 rounds and I cut that stump end off there. And the chain is still really good and very, very, very sharp. And I really do recommend Oregon products. I've used Oregon products on and off since the 1970s when I started with my dad cutting wood, and we did clear cutting, small time logging, arborist work, trimming, tree removals and all that stuff. I worked for my dad for free as well as my brother. Of course, he had other guys working for him, but we used Oregon bars and chains back then, and they perform really well. I saw a YouTube channel quite recently. I don't know why it came up, but it came up with chainsaw chain performance, and Oregon chain came right in behind steel, and I think Husqvarna got 3. I think they got the 3rd place. Husqvarna did. But they came out with a Mark II saw on the 562 XP. I guess some people had issues starting and whatnot with the first one, which this is the quote-unquote first one, although this one was purchased around 2018, I think, 2017, 2018. And I haven't had any issues with it, but I take good care of my chainsaws. Well, looks like it's going to rain, so I'm going to start packing it up. But I hope you like that little demonstration of the 562 XP. I'm going to be getting, probably be getting a larger saw, because I do want I do have a tree that I'm thinking I want to make a table out of it. So I get one of those portable chainsaw mill setups, which they're not anywhere near as expensive as they used to be years ago. So I may end up getting a larger saw than this. Might be a 592 XP, or it might be a 066 steel, which I think those are the what are they now? 661 steel chainsaw, basically 90 cc's, you know, is what you're looking at. Anyway, let you guys go with this one. I'll see you later.